good afternoon. And I can say afternoon because you can hear the Angelus bells are still going off, so we're just afternoon. We wanted to make a short video about some artwork in the church, especially related to these two major feast days that we had at the beginning of Ordinary Time, Corpus Christi and the Sacred Heart of Jesus. We celebrated the Corpus Christi, the feast of the Eucharist, that Jesus is really and truly present, his body, his blood, his soul, and his divinity under the appearances of bread and wine. Of course, it's no longer bread and wine after the consecration, but really Jesus. So the folks who built this church, the Germans here in Mishawaka who built our church, obviously had a very deep Eucharistic faith. So I want to just point a few things out and encourage folks to just come and check out these things and pray in church. It's why we have this artwork, is to help us to pray. So this big window here is an image of the Last Supper. It was not here, actually, when the church was dedicated in 1893, but was brought over from Chicago later. It was at the World's Fair on display. Beautiful, beautiful work of art there. I want to point out the facade of the high altar. Same scene. It's the Last Supper. It's very typical for altars like that in that age. This altar was actually added later. It's not original. The church was added before the church was officially consecrated in addition to being dedicated. I think the most beautiful imagery in the church for the Eucharist is this communion rail. Of course, the communion rail is where the people came to receive our Lord in the Eucharist and would kneel down right here at this rail and receive their Lord in Holy Communion, bringing together, if you will, the sanctuary of the church, where the altar is, which is imaging heaven, and the nave of the church, where all the people are, imaging earth, and this sort of meeting point was right here. But all of this hand-carved wood just speaks eloquently, beautifully of our faith, our shared faith in the Eucharist. These two panels, of course, in German from John 6, the loaves and the fish that you saw, just kind of moving along here. I'm not going to point out everything. These are all beautiful images. I do want to note, though, that the fronts of the ambo, that's this one, and the cantor stand over on the other side, they used to actually be part of the communion rail. They were the gates in the middle. We didn't used to have this sort of wide open space, but there would have been gates there that could have been closed, and these two panels would have comprised that section. So we'll just kind of make our way over here and check out the communion rail along the way. My favorite image is probably the pelican here. Just a beautiful image of sacrificing one's own life for the lives of others. A beautiful image of the Eucharist, of course, making presence, our Lord's sacrifice on the cross for us to give us life. And don't neglect the front of the cantor stand there. Or the hand sanitizer. I'm just kidding. Hashtag COVID. As we make our way over here then, these next two panels from 1 Corinthians and also then from John 6, in English, of course, the immigrants would have spoken German, but also some English, and of course now we're all English. Just in a quick though, this panel here from 1 Corinthians, special reminder that we need to receive Holy Communion worthily, to make sure we go to confession often, and if we are aware of any serious sin, to not present ourselves for communion. In fact, where we pick up then, just after what you see on that panel, is he who eats and drinks unworthily, eats and drinks condemnation upon himself. But I wanted to end up here with this I still think it's a little bit of a strange statue here in the corner that I think ties together these two feasts beautifully. So at the very top, you have our Lord on the cross, and then the chalice, and these two angels holding the chalice, so a very obvious image of the Eucharist, and then it weds together that feast, if you will, of Corpus Christi with the Feast of the Sacred Heart, which this year was just a few days later, that Friday after Corpus Christi. Our Lord with his Sacred Heart, and beautifully kind of bringing together some themes in the parish too. The angels, clearly like a guardian angel here, two children. One is gazing up upon the cross, worshiping our Lord on the cross. The other here, very beautifully kind of reaching out to this image of Jesus seated with his Sacred Heart. A beautiful image for us, reaching out to the Lord, asking for his heart to be ours, to kindle within our hearts a deep and abiding love that only he can do through the sacraments. So anyways, that's just a few things here in the church. The church is open all day, every day, and it's empty right now. It's a good chance, especially without really any risk at all, to come and pray, to come to spend time with our Lord. You come in, we genuflect to the tabernacle where We reserve the Blessed Sacrament, the Holy Eucharist. We worship our Lord who's always here, and he desires to draw us into a deeper relationship of friendship with him. God bless you guys. Have a good day.